Warning. This video contains spoilers for DC Universe's Doom Patrol. Viewer discretion is advised. DC Universe is out, and I paid for a year of it. This is DC Discussion. Readers, Part 2 of the D-Creator saga is out on Doom Patrol, and whereas the last episode was called Cult Patrol, this one is called Paw Patrol. But I assure you, despite how out of left field that title is, it actually kind of makes sense in retrospect. Also, before I even start, I just want to confirm that they made a lot of good creative decisions as far as character development wise in this episode, and I'm really impressed with it overall. That also accompanied with the fact that there's just good writing over the course of this episode overall, but there's just one specific scene that just has me over the moon. Don't worry, I'm going to be talking about everything that I found impressive with this episode, for sure. I just wanted to let you know how impressed I was over the course of me watching this episode. So with that out of the way, let's get started. So this episode starts off with a flashback to New Jersey in 1977, where we see Jane attending a punk rock band at a bar. This also happens before she's being taken back to an asylum dealing with, abusive ass guards. And it's here that I find out something about the character that a lot of you longtime Doom Patrol fans probably already knew, but probably didn't really register to me when I joked about it in the second episode.
Careful, princess, you dykey spick.
That's right, Jane isn't white. Which probably means that her saying, "Dad, I'm home" to Niles in the second half of the first episode probably wasn't meant to be taken seriously either. My bad. So for those of you who corrected me in the comments section of either the first or the second recap videos, I thank you and I appreciate you. Also, thank you, show, for giving me the information necessary for me to not keep that ignorant train of thought. Especially in the form of that crazy Jane backstory and exposition that I desperately crave. Meanwhile, we fast forward to the current timeline with the D-Creator summoned, and it's just disintegrating things one at a time, acting like a dollar store Thanos and shit. I say that because the D-Creator has to focus its eye on something in order for it to, decreate. Then again, this happens. Fuck. So I don't know for sure if those are the actual rules. So with that, we have some good news. The good news is that in a fit of rage, Cliff realized that Nurnheim, the dimension of the cult of the unwritten book that he and Jane are stuck in, is actually a snow globe. The bad news is that Mr. Nobody and Niles agreed to work together in order to stop the D-Creator by creating a religion and a deity to combat it through one of Jane's altars that have the ability to manipulate the influence of others. That's where the flashbacks of Jane's institutionalization in 1977 become a butterfly effect of time travel. And we're introduced to one of my personal favorite altars of Jane's, as of currently, Dr. Harrison. Now, I say butterfly effect because Mr. Nobody with his abilities goes back in time to 1977 at the precise moment in Dr. Harrison's relevancy and convinces her to create a cult with the other patients and workers of the hospital called the Cult of the Rewritten Book, with the goal being to summon a god called the Recreator upon the summoning of the D-Creator. That way, in modern time, there'll be a counterpart to Elliot's unwritten book in order to recreate everything that the D-Creator decreated. And I'm not gonna lie, this was not the route I expected them to go in as far as trying to stop this thing. I also wasn't expecting Mr. Nobody to play a significant role in this either, especially due to the fact that he played no role in the whole Nazi metahuman scientist episode, especially considering that would be the one that he would be a part of since, he made him. But I digress. Speaking of Elliot, the best writing and character development in this episode happens in the form of he and Rita having a chat. And I'm not gonna lie, Rita continues to impress me in this route of her development. She continues to reach out to Elliot to try and be a rock for him, exposing herself and making efforts to save him from himself now that he's technically brought about the end of the world. Everything coming out of her mouth is genuine, and it's not just to make him feel better. She is literally making the most sincerest efforts to care about someone other than herself and her compatriots in order to not be as selfish as she started out as. Then, this happens. And I love it! So let's just completely ignore the fact that the recreator idea is going to work, because let's just be honest, we already know it's going to. If we just focus on the direness of the situation, no recreator or anything, do you understand how powerful that moment is for her? This happening to Rita's attempt to become less selfish is the potential push that she needs to become the hero that she constantly says that she's not. The loss of Elliot in this manner, when she's so close to connecting with him, assuring him that it's not his fault and that things are going to get better, can push her into realizing that life outside of her and her own are just as precious as Elliot, and can go away just like that. And even more importantly, she has the power to do something about it and to make sure that what happens to Elliot doesn't happen to anyone else. This entire scene was just like, the best in the episode, and I'm so glad that they made this decision. Meanwhile, the Chief's back and walking, revealing to the rest of the team that he's working with Mr. Nobody to create a counter-cult and counter-god to deal with the world's impending doom. They find the location of the rewritten book and head there to summon the Recreator. When they get there, however, they find out that the cult that Dr. Harrelson formed about 40 years prior in the insane asylum isn't necessarily as cut and paste as they expected it to be from the unwritten book. And it's here that we find out why this episode is called Paw Patrol. Because the rewritten book isn't on a boy, or a human for that matter. It's on a dog. And as a safety precaution to keep the rewritten book safe from the cult of the unwritten book, the text is only visible when Jane rings the bell. She does so while she and Cliff are still in Nurnheim, causing Kipley to read the text and summon the Recreator, who proceeds to recreate everything that the Decreator decreated, before the two enter into a staring contest, canceling each other's abilities out before they both nullify each other out of the current plane of existence. Now readers, you may think that this was a pretty anticlimactic ending to this two-parter, but personally, I thought that everything about this was just smart. As I stated before, this was not the route that I expected this episode to go in as far as it handling its plot. But after seeing how good the writing was, and seeing how well the execution handled dotting every I and crossing every T, I can't help but be impressed. Especially since after the crisis was averted, Mr. Nobody was quick as fuck to reclaim Niles as his prisoner. It wasn't the resolution that I was expecting, but it was still cleverly handled with good writing and great character development choices made throughout, and that's honestly all that I could ask for. So with that being said, readers, your homework assignment for the day. Write in the comment section below what you thought of episode 5 of Doom Patrol if you've seen it. If you want to help financially support the channel, you can join my Patreon by clicking the card at the end of the video or in the link in the description down below, where you can also find a link to my merchandise store. Or if you prefer to give one-time donations, you can find links to my PayPal and my Ko-fi account in the description box as well. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. But until then, this is Readus 101. Class dismissed.